Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'd like to show you how to work the pattern for the Leaping Stripes and Blocks blanket. Here I have basically a washcloth size that I've made using this pattern, and the great thing about this pattern is you can make anything from a washcloth to a California King. And the measurement or stitch counts for most of those are given in the pattern. For washcloth, I started with a chain of 30. Basically, you can do any size you want as long as it's a multiple of 4 plus 2. So 4 times 7 is 28 plus 2 is 30. This started with a chain 30. Now I'm going to set this aside. Here I'm going to show you how to work the pattern with a small example of 18 chains. This would be a great size for a small face cloth or just to learn the pattern with. So I've got my chain of 18. And to start, I'm going to work a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I go right into that chain. You can go into the top of the chain if you like, or the back or front loop, however you like to work into chains. It's up to you. I just like working into the back hump. So the first 3 chains that we skipped become the first double crochet of the row. So we've just made the second, and now I'll go into the next chain to make the third. Okay, now the next thing the pattern says is to chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2. That means skip 2 chains here of the base chain and work another double crochet into the next step, into the next chain. So there's 1 and then a double crochet into the next chain. And then we repeat that until there's 1 chain left. So basically it's chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, and then work 2 double crochets. 1, and then get a little more yarn here, and then 2. Okay, chain 2, skip 2, and work 2 more double crochets. 1, and these double crochets are in separate chains. Don't put them in the same chain. Okay, and here we are with 1 chain left. So we double crochet in that last chain. Okay, so after the first row, we've got 3 double crochets, a space of 2, 2 double crochets, a space, 2 double crochets, a space, and that continues until the end, and we have 3 double crochets there at the end. Now for the next row, we continue with that first color we're using here, and this pattern can be made with anywhere from 2 to any number of colors. It could be a great stash buster. So to start the next row, we chain 1, and then to begin, we single crochet in that very first stitch, then we chain 2, skip those 2 double crochets we made there, and now instead of working into this chain, into the row we just made, we're going to work 2 double crochets into that foundation chain, the 2 that we skipped back here when we were making row 1. To do that, we're going to go just and crochet right over that chain 2, almost like it doesn't exist. We're going to trap it right inside these 2 double crochet stitches. So there's 1. And get into that next chain there. Working into chains is always fiddly, but luckily it's only for the 1 row, well, 2 rows here. Okay, there's 2 double crochets, then we chain 2, skip the 2 double crochets, and work into the next 2 of the foundation chains, enclosing that chain 2 that we made there in row 1 again. And we continue on like this till the end of the row, just as before. It's a pretty easy to memorize pattern once you've made it here. Chain 2, skip the 2 double crochets, work into the next 2 chains that we skipped from the foundation row, their foundation chain. 1, where'd that go? There it is. There we are. 2, okay, and then here we are at the end at those first 3 double crochets we made. Remember that first 3 chains we skipped counts as the first stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2 and then we're going to single crochet right in the top of the chain 3. However, it's at this point that we also want to change colors. So we'll get our hook in that top of that chain 3, yarn over, pull up, and instead of completing the stitch with this color, I'm going to bring in my next color, which in this case is just a slightly lighter blue. And I'm going to use that to yarn over and complete the single crochet stitch. Now I'm not going to cut the first color. As long as you're using 3 or fewer colors in your pattern, you can just kind of float the color changes up the side. Let me show you really quick what that looks like here on the almost completed washcloth that I made. You can see that the colors just float right up the side. And what I would do when I finish this washcloth is I would work a single crochet border that would cover all that up. If you don't want to use a border, or if you want to use more than 3 colors, I would suggest that you cut and weave in your ends after each stripe. So, back to the pattern. I'm ready to work row 3 with color B. So, find the working end here, and I will chain 1 and get ready to work row 3. Now to start this row, I'm going to single crochet in the first stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and trap the end here, the non-working end of color B, just kind of hold it down here. Meanwhile, I will let the working end of chain A just kind of hang off the side, or the color A, excuse me, hang off the side. So I made my first single crochet, and you can see right here we've got a chain 2 space open here. So I'm going to double crochet in the tops of the 2 double crochets from row 1, enclosing that chain 2 that we made in row 2. Okay, so then we chain 2 and then skip those 2 double crochets from row 2 and work in the tops of the double crochets from row 1. So I think you can see how the pattern is starting to come together here. You chain 2 and skip over double crochets from the previous row and work double crochets over chain 2s from the previous row into the tops of double crochets from the row 2 rows ago. Like I say, it's hard to explain in words, but once you see it and once you do it, I think you'll see how easy it really is here. So here we are at the end of the row. We've got a chain 2 space, so I'm working to the top of row 1 because this is row 3. And now at the end of the row, we've got that 1 single crochet left, and I'm going to work another single crochet right in the top of it. Okay, now for row 4, we continue with color B. We chain 1, turn, work a single crochet in that first stitch. And if you find, because these are single crochets on the ends, that your sides are getting a little low, you can throw in a half double crochet, or just make sure that you pull up and get the height right up there on each single crochet. So we've got 2 double crochets right away that we finished that last row with. So we're going to chain 2 to work right over them, and then find that chain 2 space and work into the row previous with our 2 double crochets. There's 2, so we chain 2, skip 2, and then double crochet in the next 2. And as I say, just let me show you real slowly here. We just enclose that chain 2. You can see I have my hook with the yarn over it just as I normally would. Insert, come around that chain 2, pull up, yarn over, and pull through 2 to go ahead and finish our double crochet. So at this point I will continue on down to the end of the row here. And here we are at the last 3 stitches again. So once again, this is a chain 2 and single crochet in the last stitch. However, since I've just finished 2 more rows, it's time to switch to another color. So if I wanted to, this is where I could bring in a 3rd color, or if I want to switch back to color A, what I would do is kind of just hold these 2 out of the way, bring color A back up along the side, yarn over, and pull through with it. You want to make sure when you do this that you're not pulling that color too tightly, or you can squinch down that side and it'll end up too short. And you also don't want to do it too loosely so that it ends up all floppy. It takes a little bit of practice, but you really want it to be to have just a little bit of stretch there, and you can kind of move it around, and if it gets too tight, pull it back out and try it again. And then I'm ready to start row 5, which is just as before. Since we've got a chain 2 space right away, I would work into those double crochets with 2 more, skip over those 2 with a chain 2, and on you go. And that's really all there is to the pattern. Now to finish it up, let me pull out, the reason this is so unfinished here is because I want to be able to show you the very last row to finish this pattern off so that you're not left with a bunch of chain 2 spaces hanging out there on the last row. Okay, so here we are, ready to make the last row of our blanket or our washcloth or whatever it is we've been working on. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn it over. And also, this is important too, you want to, in order to give it the best finished edge, when you've come to the end, you want to work, since it's a 2-row repeat, you want to work 1 row of your last color and then do the finishing for the 2nd row. So if I had already worked 2 rows in this color, I would probably use the darker blue to work 1 row and then work the finishing row. So I'm going to work that first single crochet just as before. And now, instead of chaining 2 and skipping over these, I'm going to single crochet right in the top of those 2 double crochets. Then, as I come to the chain 2 here, I'm going to double crochet into the top of the 2 double crochets from the row previous to the previous one, so 2 rows ago. Now I'm back at 2 more double crochets, so I'll single crochet into the top of those. And as you can see, since you're not chaining here, this really just closes up the tops of those stitches. So I will continue on just like this to the end, work double crochets into the row 2 rows previous when you've got a chain 2 space, work single crochets into the top of the 2 double crochets from the previous row, and continue on like this all the way, as I say, to the end. This one's taking a little longer because this again was a chain 30 rather than a chain 18. But as I get to the end here, you can see that it has made a really nice even row. And now, again, if I have not been weaving in my ends, which is ideal, because who likes weaving in ends, what I would do to finish this off would be, rather than cutting this color, whatever color I ended up with would be what I would usually use for the edging. And here I am at the end, so we've got those last few stitches. I single crochet in the tops of those 2 double crochets, then I single crochet in that last stitch, and then normally I would use this and I could chain 1 and turn and do the edging, or do it from this side. I like to do it from here because you can see as you come around from this side, when you come around, you're going to be able to see those floats and make sure you really enclose them in each stitch. And that's all there is to the Leaping Stripes and Blocks blanket pattern. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.